All right, today, class, we're going to go over classic horror movie trope acting. Jackson, why don't you come to the front of the classroom? Okay, let's see what you got. So your scene, you're already in character. Wow. Does anybody hear music?
I think they're following us.
Jackson, did you bring music to the class?
Wait, get to the car.
Where the fuck did that car come from?
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out right now. What the fuck is that?
And welcome to Casting Out Demons.
Hey, demon heads.
I'm Zach,
I'm Bailey.
and I have a mouthful of food.
So I'll say our tagline. This is Casting Out Demons, a comedy horror podcast made from our blood, sweat, and fears.
That is true.
And Zach, what movie are we covering tonight?
We're covering a lovely little film by the name of Starry Eyes.
Which was actually suggested to us by our Twitter follower, and I'm sorry, I believe it is Night Wilder.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for the Twitter suggestion.
He
we appreciate
loves
you.
Knight Rider and Van Wilder. And so he's like, how do I combine the two?
Oh my god.
Well, I love Ryan Reynolds too.
You know what? Ryan Reynolds is in the movie The Amityville Horror.
That is true. And speaking of horror movies, we're also talking about a horror movie today.
Whoa, crazy. Just had me throw you guys for a loop. Throw you
Sorry
off our
about that.
track. So yeah, as with every episode, we're going to begin with Trick or Tweet. And I'll start because Zach has an onion ring in his mouth. So my Trick or Tweet is the worst guerrilla advertisement for a third-rate Hooters I've ever seen. Or the short-lived sci-fi original series, Fame. Thank you.
That's not me clapping. I don't know where that noise is coming from. Listeners, there seems to be a disembodied clapping taking place in the studio.
And it looks like a 1980s, so it's just like kind of moving around the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like a really bad like whooshing, like a personified whooshing behind it. It's great.
My trick or tweet is the worst STD ever. It'll have you pulling your hair out just watching it. I make that joke because Sarah Walker, the protagonist, if I could say that, then she becomes the antagonist at some
She's
point.
an anti-hero.
She's the Walter White of this movie.
She's the one who knocks.
She is the Wanda White of this movie. She has trichotillomania. Am I doing a good job on that? How do you think you pronounce that?
It's
Trichotillomania.
yeah, there you go.
Which is a disease that only 4% of the population has, where they pull out their hair whenever they're very nervous.
Yep. And it's not just the hair on your head, it's like eyebrows, eyelashes, anything.
Anywhere you can get it. I noticed that I might have this. I'm not joking either, like, because sometimes when I get really nervous, I like to pull on my beard hair. And then I don't do it to the same extent that she does, but like I'll just go, ugh. Maybe that's just because I like my beard, though. Anyway, Sarah Walker has a hodgepodge of useless friends whose only redeeming qualities seem to be caring about her slightly when she starts to decay
Literally.
into the new version of herself.
Well, I think actually...
Sorry, I just burped when I did that. I'm not drunk, listeners. I'm not.
Man, what's that glass rattling around? That ice rattling around?
Shut up, Bailey. I've only had a few.
Is that the disembodied hand taking a sip of your drink?
The hand that is a man's hand that... I'm quoting Night Vale sloppily.
So anyway, so her useless friends, I don't think they're useless. I think each of them personifies a different characteristic out of Hollywood. So you have like Ashley, who's like the stock blonde that doesn't really say a lot. You have Poe,
That's
who
the one that
represents
busts
the
her nose, right?
paparazzi.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
You have Danny, who represents sleazy directors. You have Aaron, who are the bitchy rivals and like the cutthroat people in Hollywood. And then you have Tracy, who's like the one person that's in your support system.
Yeah, I got that sense too. I just feel like they became caricatures of that rather than being characters of that.
Yeah.
Where especially Aaron, the bitchy one, her only lines were cutting down Sarah, where it just...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, they weren't
absolutely.
they were two-dimensional, or even one-dimensional at some points. So I just don't feel like you can call them characters, honestly.
Yeah.
Beautiful sentiment, though. I think you're absolutely right. I didn't think
Yeah,
about the
no.
paparazzi one especially.
Yeah, because Poe, when Sarah's condition starts to worsen, he's trying to take pictures of her, and Tracy, who's like her one diehard friend, she is like trying to shove him off, but then Sarah shoves Tracy off of him so that he can take pictures of her.
Yeah, and that kind of lends into Sarah's whole end game in this was just to be famous. Not even an actress, just to be famous and completely vain.
Yeah, so to kind of set it up for you guys, Sarah lives with she lives clearly in Los Angeles, and she lives with a bunch of other people who are looking to be directors,
Her
stars.
apartment is within eye shot of the Hollywood sign,
Absolutely,
actually. Yeah.
And so she lives here, and so Sarah by day works at what's a Hooters, but it's like I can't even think of what the name of it is. It's
Isn't
awful.
it taters? It's something like that because it has to do with potatoes.
Yeah, it has to. So they have like a bunch of like potato puns and a bunch of like potato double entendres, and so
All mashed together.
all mashed together. They call their little kids tater tots. And then their pants kind of look like potatoes. I don't know really what it was going
Yeah.
for. They're like gold lame with like sweat. It looks like sweat spots.
I just
Like
never
sweat
looked
spots.
at boobs and gone, oh, look at them taters. You know, like, I understand that's what they're trying to get to, but it was a really strange...
Yeah, it
you
was
know.
weird. And so she works there by day, and so by night she like goes on all of these auditions and things like that. But she does have she has a condition.
Trichotillomania.
Yeah, no, we can't say this right. I'm
I'm
sorry.
saying it
I'm
right.
sorry, Mom. I apologize.
I'm absolutely pronouncing it right.
And so
I actually practiced on pronouncing this word last night. That's how I know I'm saying it right. I'm serious. I listened to the Wikipedia pronunciation of it like 10 times. Trichotillomania. That's actually it.
so anyway,
You're welcome, demon heads.
thanks, listeners. So she works there by day, and by night she's trying to become an actress, and so
This leads to her auditioning for a movie that seems even beneath her marginally talented
yes,
self.
it's called, because the flashbacks we see, she is very talented acting wise, and so she's looking on what kind of looks like like Hollywood based Craigslist.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
And she sees this audition for a movie, The Silver Scream.
Terrible name.
And so Erin, who is like the bitchy one, is like, is that just a working title? And, is trying to cut her down the whole time, but she just had to go in for the audition. Mm-hmm. And she does a really, really killer audition. And
She
there
does a
are
great job.
There's an assistant and then a casting director, and we don't even have names for them. They're just
And the
assistant
assistant's the one that's talking the most, right?
Yes.
And the casting director is a woman who looks like a thumb, correct?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she was in the movie Vile. If you've seen the movie
What is
Vile. Vile is this movie where these strangers wake up in a house and they have this vial connected to the back of their neck, and they have to fill it with the liquid that your brain and the chemicals that your brain emits when you're in pain or like severe
shit.
anxiety. Yeah, I believe she is from Vile. Don't hold me to that, but so she goes in and Sarah starts reading for the part and is reading along with the assistant, and so she leaves and she gets upset. She goes to the bathroom,
Yeah.
and she starts having like a mental breakdown where she's like ripping out huge chunks of her hair.
Yeah.
She's like slamming her bag in between the stall walls. She's screaming, she's yelling, and she opens the door and the casting
Thumb
director's
lady.
there.
Thumb lady's right there.
Is there. And it's like, maybe we didn't see everything from you that we needed, and ask her to come back for a second audition
Yes.
and to recreate what she did in the bathroom.
So she goes back into the room and she gets in front of them, and like they're like, "Can you recreate this?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't know. It's just something I do." And
Yeah,
then
I've never
she's
done
like,
this in front of anybody.
yeah. And then Thumb Lady looks down and stops looking at her. So Sarah starts to gently pull her hair, and then she slowly starts realizing that they're not paying attention. So she starts having another nervous breakdown in front of them and starts
And I mean, thrashing around.
writhing in pain.
Yes.
Yeah. And they notice. Mm-hmm. And they're like, they say the same thing. What did they say? Thanks, we'll be in touch. But they said it in a different way this time.
Very hopeful.
Absolutely.
And see, the night before, Sarah had this nightmare where she was reading a script, but the words were disappearing as she was reading them.
Yeah.
And then her scalp starts bleeding to represent how she handles her stress. And
Absolutely.
The two guys that are in her nightmare, by the way, are actually the producer and director.
Really?
The two guys. Mm-hmm. Those
Very
are the
cool.
producer and the director. And so becomes very hopeful. And so then she kind of goes back to her life or whatever, and they call her and want to set up another audition. Mm-hmm. And so this audition is actually based off of a true story. The director. Where's my note? I have it. Hold on.
While you're looking for that, I'll talk about.
Yeah, go for it.
Whenever she gets this call, she's at work, and her boss Carl notices her taking the call
It was
outside.
Pat Healy, who
Yeah,
is
who
in
was
The
in-
Innkeepers and Cheap Thrills.
Cheap Thrills, yeah.
Which I love.
Main
that
character. I
movie.
still haven't seen that. It's on my watch
It's a
list.
really good movie.
I've heard only good things about it. He seemed like he could handle that kind of role really well. I think he did a great job as Carl, playing that creepy yet kind of caring guy. Like, I don't know, your prototypical man, honestly. It's
Yeah.
kind of creepy, but yeah, he has a good heart. I think he did a good job of that. So he calls Sarah into his office, and then he's like, you have to put like all into this or whatever. And she's like, I think you're right. That's why I think I have to quit.
And he says, 1,000,000 other girls would kill for this job. And Sarah looks at him and says, I'm not 1,000,000 other girls.
That's kind of indicative of her character too. That's something that
Absolutely.
she absolutely believes, that she is a star. She has starry eyes.
She does.
Not to be like overly, but like that's honestly what that means.
Yeah, no, she definitely, that's her aspiration in life,
Yeah.
is to just be an actress. And so,
I don't even think it's to be an actress though. I think it's just to be famous.
well, because we never hear anything about her family or anything, so I think like she was, like her family situation was not great, so that's why she
Yeah.
moved out to Hollywood. And so I think that she
Absolutely.
just needs that admiration to fill a void in her life.
Like most people.
That's why you have your chicken, she has her starry eyes.
Same thing. Same thing. I need the love from the chicken, Bailey. I need it. I'm loving it.
So anyway, so I found my note. So this scene, the director and / producer Dennis Widmeyer and Kevin Kolsch based Sarah's second audition off of a story the two were told about a real David Lynch audition. So what happens is she comes back. They were both told the same story on different occasions by different people. And so apparently there's this Hollywood urban legend that David Lynch once had somebody come in and read and had a strobe light
Flashing.
You're the one that's been drinking. I haven't even been drinking.
And I have a mouthful of food.
Yeah. So it's a strobe light that's flashing, and they ask her to just completely lose herself and strip and be naked to be at her most vulnerable and just to lose herself and just let everything go. And that's the audition. And so afterwards, you can kind of tell that Sarah's changed a little bit.
I want to comment on this scene, especially because I think cinematically, this is the most beautiful scene in the movie.
Oh, it was so well
Because
done.
you start to see the change in that. There's like flashes of
Exactly.
her, what she will become later.
And there's no gratuitous nudity. Like, we don't see...
We don't see breasts until the very end of the movie.
And they're grotesque. Like, it's not, like, overly...
Well, there is that, like, whenever she is born into her new body,
Okay, yeah,
like,
true,
very
true.
Miley Cyrus-esque naked body.
No, Miley would have had pasties.
No, true. True that.
So,
But she looked like Miley because she was basically bald, so.
She's just being Miley.
It's being Miley.
So she comes out, and you can just tell she's very uplifted. And Tracy's like, do you think that they were making fun of you this time? And she's like, no, I don't think that they were the first time either.
Yeah.
And so that's when Ashley, who's a character, I don't even think Ashley has a single dang line in the entire thing.
I don't think they paid her.
She falls and breaks her nose, and Sarah laughs. And Tracy turns and looks at her, and Sarah immediately just, withdraws.
And then Tracy walks away, then Sarah lets the emotion show again that she's pleased at what's happening.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to let you segue.
Oh, yeah, I can segue.
Yeah.
This isn't really necessarily in terms of the story. I just feel like if you are a fan of the genre of torture porn, which is what this movie is, to a certain point, it sets up and it's like a slow burner at the beginning. I'm raising a lot of intriguing questions. But whenever Sarah does make her turn later in the movie, it becomes more about how much gratuitousness. What is the word I'm looking for?
I like gratuitousness.
Gratuitousness. Can we fit into this movie?
Gratuitous?
To be gratuitous.
Yes.
That's a word, right?
To be yeah, sure.
To be gory.
Yeah.
That's a better way of saying it. To be gory. They try to see how much gore they could fit within the confines of this movie. And I think that if you are a fan of that genre, which more power to you, there's some great movies. Saw was one of them. I didn't think it was great, but a lot of people thought that The Human Centipede was great because it really delved into that genre.
That movie, I'm sorry, that second movie made me... There are 3 scenes in movies that have almost made me vomit, and that is one of them. That entire movie. The second one. The first one... I was like, this is gross, but like it's not super gross. The second one, I almost puked on numerous occasions.
I never watched the second one because I wasn't really a fan of the first one.
Well, it's just like one of those things, like in the name of horror, I felt like I had to. And
That's why I watched the first one.
Watching the third one.
No, there's gonna be a third one.
Yeah, there's a third one. It's a warden at a prison, does his entire. Yeah.
I've said this before, I think, on the podcast, but the only good thing that's ever come out of that movie is the episode of South Park, the Human Sin iPad.
Yep.
Absolutely genius. But I think that you'll be a fan of this movie, and your weird taste will be quenched indefinitely.
Oh, yeah.
Because this movie had me screaming at the screen, wrap this scene up, more times than I yelled at the episode of How I Met Your Mother when Boys to Men came on. Have you seen that episode?
Yes, I've seen that.
That's the worst. It almost ruined the entire show. That's how bad. And the show is great. One of my favorite shows. That scene almost ruined this show.
Oh my god. So anyway, I'll go ahead and what it is. So the fictional studio that Sarah is auditioning for is called Astraeus Pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sarah's telling her friends that she's gotten a call back for Astraeus Pictures. And her phone rings, and it winds up that they want her to meet with the director. The director wants to meet with her personally. Producer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is the producer. You're right. So I think I was thinking like casting director and producer. So
I think that producer is very intentional in the name because he's producing people.
Yeah. Oh,
I think
yeah,
that was
sure.
intentional.
The diction was intentional.
Yeah.
And so Sarah's like, okay, so she goes to the producer's office, and he winds up, talking to her, and he's like, very few people make it to this point because earlier on, there's a girl that runs crying out of that audition room. And so, Sarah's like, he's like talking to Sarah, and he's like, we want to put your name up on a marquee in a poster in a lobby. He's like, that doesn't happen very often.
It really doesn't.
And so, he's telling her, so then he starts grazing her thigh.
Yeah.
And she realizes what she's going to have to do in order to become a part of Astraeus Pictures.
And then he mentions a gateway and then makes his way further up the thigh.
The gateway is his penis.
Yeah.
And so, so she like runs out. She's like, I can't do this. So she winds up telling Tracy, who winds up telling everybody, which was kind of a douchey move.
It really was. I think, honestly, that's the downfall of Sarah's character because I don't think I feel like if Tracy doesn't tell all of her friends, then maybe we don't have the same ending that we have.
Exactly. And so that, gives Aaron adds more fuel to the fire.
Yeah, and I think if we're going off your theory, which I think was very well put earlier, and I think that really does set up what each character's roles were, the one person that was supposed to have her back betrayed her. And that's Tracy. And I feel like what eventually does happen to Sarah is because the support system, for lack of better terms, that she was supposed to have was banking on one person, really.
She betrays her.
She betrays her. Absolutely.
And so...
that kind of betrayal will ruin everybody's day.
Man.
And scene.
And scene. So... So Tracy winds up telling everybody, and so Sarah gets really upset, starts crying because she's just so upset because it's heartbreaking that she got this far and quit her other job. And so, Tracy's telling her that it's okay and that, that none of them out there would do that.
Although you kind of think Aaron would. Because, I mean, she's
later on,
Yeah, you see that she's sleeping with
Danny.
And maybe she makes a good point. The only line that I liked of Aaron's is that, did you ever just think that me and Danny liked each other? And I think that's true.
Yeah.
As bad as Aaron was, maybe she wouldn't do that. I don't know. I don't know. They didn't give us enough of Aaron to really make that.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's not a lot of character development.
No.
And so she's upset, and so she winds up going back to the Tater Hut, which that's not what it's called, but I'm going to call it Tater Hut.
Tater Hut.
And
sounds like something Peyton Manning would say right
Tater
before he
Hut.
snaps the Tater Hut.
And so, sorry, disembodied hands. Sorry.
What's
guys.
going on in here?
Which, by the way, you need to listen to the newest episode of Night Vale. I cried today.
Really?
Cried for 10 minutes.
I just listened to the episode where Dana appears for her brother's birthday and then sees an older version of herself. Oh my god. So good.
Sorry, spoilers. Welcome to Night Vale.
You should not listen to this if you don't want to be spoiled, though.
Yeah.
We're going to spoil a lot of things.
We're going to spoil the pants off of you.
Spoiler alert, M. Night Shyamalan, not that good at making movies.
So anyway.
I am looking forward to his new movie.
I am looking forward to the visit. So So she gets upset. She winds up going and begging for her job back.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets it back.
Yes.
So she starts working there again when her phone goes off.
Mm-hmm.
No.
No. She makes the call.
She makes the call. She goes outside and she just can't handle working at Tater Heaven anymore. Makes the call. Says, I was mistaken.
Yes.
And so all they give her is an address and a time. And say be there.
And I should say that the first time she went to this place, she's dressed in a lovely red dress. She looks like a movie star whenever she goes. The second time, and this is just me struggling for a better way to describe what she looked like, but she looked like a hooker, like when she went. She's wearing very high heels, a really kind of... Yeah, you know what I mean. I don't mean it to like demean. You can dress that way, but I think that the intention of the director was to show that whenever she went the first time, she was going as a movie star. The second time, she was going as someone that was going there to sleep with the producer.
Yep. And so they'll be there in 1 hour because she finally, after a hard day's work, just comes home and calls. And so she gets on the subway and goes to the producer's house. Mm-hmm. And so, or what appears to be the producer's house, or like Estrella's headquarters. Yeah. And so he starts talking to her and she gets down on her knees. Mm-hmm. And he gives her a drink, right?
I feel like because she starts to... I'm not 100% sure if she gets a drink or not. I think so because, like, before she gets there, she's, like, coherent. But whenever she enters, I know she starts to become kind of dazed and
yes, and she's
confused.
like... Yeah, and she's... And Richard Linklater...
There shows up, and he's like, you need to get out of here before midnight.
And then Hero by Family of the Year starts playing.
Yeah.
And, God.
Yeah.
And so, she's just like, I really want to do this. And, she's just like almost drunk on just stardom already. And she hasn't even become famous. And so he's like, so then, she
starts,
beach.
She gives him a beach. And that's why my tweet was, this is the worst STD ever.
Yeah.
And, in competition with it follows. But like.
So she gives him a beach. And so the next morning she wakes up and she's just in her bed. Yeah. Fully clothed.
And we should say that it cuts. We don't get to see... No. Not that we want to see the end of the beach. But, like, we don't see, like, the conclusion of that scene.
There's no money shot
There's no money shot here.
And so,
No, so she wakes up in her bed, cold sweats. There's kind of... There's, like, a question on her face as if it actually happened or not. Mm-hmm. So then she starts to go on with her day, and then she's at work.
She's not feeling well.
She's not feeling well. She's, like, snotting and sweating over some food. Then Carl comes up. He's like, "You're not well. You need to go home."
So they fat over a basket of tater tots.
And then she slaps him in the ear.
No.
And I didn't do that, listeners.
So,
demon heads.
So she slaps him. And he's like, "Get out of here."
Never come back.
Yeah, never come back. And so she leaves. Mm-hmm. And you can tell she just looks like shit. Like, there's no other way to say it. I hate when people say, like...
You look like shit. Yeah. But she looked like shit.
She looked like shit. Her skin was, like, starting to peel off. Like, when you get sick and, like, your lips get chapped? Imagine that, but, like, on steroids.
And over your whole body. Yeah. Like, her whole body was chapped.
She's like the lizard person.
She was like a wind-battered sailor without any petroleum jelly. Just hit by the wind and the rain and the elements.
Not even a Randy sailor, so we didn't even get a fun song like Brandy out of it.
No.
Shout out to Looking Glass. Thank you.
That was deep. That was a deep reference.
Thank you. And so...
Good hook there. Arg.
So, she is hanging out with her friends later, and Tracy's like, "You didn't actually do it, did you?" And that's when everything kind of comes out in the wash. And she starts talking to Danny. Yeah. Because earlier...
Oh, yeah, we glossed over a part.
So earlier, when she also went to get her job back, her friend Danny also said he was making a movie. Mm-hmm. He wanted her in it. And to
be the lead role.
Well,
actually, Sarah suggested that she played the lead role. And then he was like, yeah, okay.
And she said Simone. And...
which is the lead role.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, if you want it. And so then they split what I think it was like ecstasy. I'm assuming it was like X or Molly.
Okay, I want to kind of make a PSA here. If you're going to give somebody drugs and they go, what is this? Don't respond like, it's going to be the best night of your life. Tell them what drug it is.
Also...
And don't take the drug until someone tells you what it is.
And then don't go swimming afterwards.
No.
I mean, I understand, like, that was probably, like, symbolic of, like, her baptism, like, into her new life, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah, that's what they were going for.
But, like, no, because they were also drinking.
Yeah.
No.
it's a bad idea. Also, don't suck a producer's dick to get a role in a movie.
No.
That's another PSA. Don't do that.
Only do it to get ahead in life, not
Oh,
just get a role in a movie.
That joke blew. Come on.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, sorry, I just had to spit it out. Anyway,
It was a hard one.
so-
It's all right.
I know it was a little hard to swallow, listeners. We're done with beach jokes.
Yeah.
For the,
What was
for the
that
moment.
character in X-Files?
Stop.
Oh, Deep Throat.
In X-Files?
Yeah, he was in
I
X-Files.
know. Oh my god. But anyway.
What?
Deep Throat was an original political informant.
Dude, I don't fucking know real life. I only know pop culture.
So
You know that about me.
anyway, it was also a porno with Linda Lovelace.
Yeah, I know that.
That's how she got it.
I know that.
If you ever want to watch the movie, here's something. Here's my obligatory OC reference. I didn't even mean to.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
I was going to say Seth Cohen.
Adam Brody.
plays a porn star, so you get to watch Amanda Seyfried
What movie is
suck
this?
off.
Really?
Yeah, Adam Brody. It's Lovelace. the
Why do I
Lovelace
want to
story.
see that?
I don't know. I couldn't look away. I was horrified.
I watched a movie the other day that Adam Brody was on.
What was it?
Seeking a Friend for the End of the World.
That's a good movie.
That's a good movie.
It is a very underrated movie.
Very-
I wrote a Facebook status after I watched that movie that it
yeah,
was so
very underrated movie.
Such a good movie.
Yeah. T.J. Miller.
Such a good movie.
Yeah.
Is the he works
Yeah.
at the restaurant. Oh my
Yes.
god, I forgot.
Yeah.
Sorry, listeners.
What was that restaurant called?
I don't remember, but
I feel like
him
it's
and his
shenanigans.
whistle. That's all.
Yeah.
God.
Anyway, back to-
back to the movie. So
Yes.
she wakes up, is baptized into a new life, blah blah blah. So then she's talking to Danny.
Yes.
And so she's talking to Danny, and he's like, he is giving her a drink, like they're talking about the movie or whatever, and he's like,
Yeah.
Sarah, you really don't look good. And so then all of her other friends, Poe comes down the thing and kicks her
Kicks
in the back.
back. Yeah. Fucking asshole.
And he's like, what the fuck? And then
Can-
Aaron
drink with me,
comes
Danny.
down there, yeah. And then Tracy comes down there, and then Ashley comes down there. And Aaron goes, she's gonna Ralph, which no one
Yeah.
has used since the Goonies.
No, they have not.
I don't
That's
know-
like that Mulaney joke. No one's. She told that bozo to beat it.
She told him to
Beat it, bozo.
No, she did not.
Thanks.
She's from a different country, and no one has used the word bozo in over 200 years.
Thanks for the scoop, Madge.
Imagines. She told him to beat it, bozo. So yeah, and so Poe starts taking pictures of Sarah.
This is true.
And Tracy tries to shove him
Yeah.
away. And then Sarah
Sarah.
tries to shove Tracy away. And
Yes.
she's like, what? I was trying to help you. And Sarah doesn't say anything. And she just kind of looks dazed. And then she walks off. And and Danny's like, somebody should go after her. And Tracy's like, Sarah, you shouldn't go in there. It's dark.
Yeah.
And so then we cut
Which is
to-
good advice for everything that Sarah did in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Sarah, you shouldn't go in this way. It's dark.
Exactly.
That's the one line that I liked in the movie a lot.
Oh, yeah, because it's just, that's foreshadows the whole movie. So then she winds up going to where she went earlier for Stray's pictures. And there's a homeless man there, and she's really, really, really aggressive towards him. And
Yeah.
he wasn't being aggressive towards
He
her
asked
at
her
all.
if she was okay and touched her arm
Yeah.
to be like a human thing to do. And then she freaks out and says, "Don't you fucking touch me!" Pushes him down. He looks
Yeah.
genuinely scared.
And see, that's what I think it's just to show, she thinks she's important now.
Yeah, yeah,
That he's legitimately beneath her.
yeah. I
And
think that's the whole role of that scene too.
And so, she winds up, and she just keeps calling Estrellas. So then we see her in bed, and she looks dead.
She looks literally dead.
And so she
looks like an extra from The Walking Dead.
She does.
Yes.
She actually looks a lot like that lady from the first one. That's it's only half the lady. It's just
Yeah.
her of her torso.
Yeah. Maybe that's who she
and
becomes.
so-
And Rick is like, "Girl,
And then
girl."
what if it's Carl? What if it's all going on in a different time zone and Carl is from the Tater Hut?
Mm.
Anyway, that's not. So, so she looks dead. And so she winds up going in the bathroom and throwing up. And Tracy's like, "I need to get in. You've been in there for 2 hours, and I need to get ready for work." And she's like, "Go away, please." And her hair's just coming out in clumps.
Yeah.
She's throwing up. Her eyes are cataract.
Yeah.
She is just throwing up. So she gets up and pushes Tracy out of the way and goes in the kitchen, tries to eat yogurt, and starts
is
throwing it up. And Tracy's like, "What's going on?" And, and she's like, and Sarah's like, "Do you smell that?" And then in the grossest line of the entire movie is "Are you on your period?" And Tracy's
Yeah.
like, fuck you.
And then she's like, "It's the smell is you."
And she's like, "The smell's you."
And then Sarah's like, "Fuck you, you don't care about me," and all this stuff. And then Tracy's like, I paid your rent for the last 2 months. Like, what the fuck is wrong
Yeah,
with
and
you?
she's like, and you probably don't have it again. And, you know,
Yeah.
it's at this point, it's my apartment.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Sarah's just, like, acting bizarre. And so she goes into her room, and there on the end table
Is an envelope.
from Estrella's pictures with several $100s in it. Probably, like, a couple
Uncountable.
grand.
Yeah.
And so she comes back out, throws it at Tracy, and she's like, here, now it's my apartment again. Leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Oh, and do me one more thing, Tracy, fuck off. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And so then she comes back in there, and Thumb Lady's there, and she gags Sarah.
Yes.
And she's like, there's sleep now, there's something we want you to see. And
Yes.
so as Sarah's in, like, this dreamlike state, we see Sarah, but it's not quite Sarah. It's like this perfect...
Perfect movie star version
of Sarah,
Yeah.
And I mean, and in her room, she has, like, photos of Marilyn Monroe, Greta Garbo, like, all of these just, like, Rita Hayworth.
Like real Hollywood actresses,
Yes.
the ones that were movie
Grace
stars.
Kelly.
Yes.
You know, just all of...
Other people.
Yeah, Audrey
you know.
Hepburn.
Yeah, and then there's the other famous girls that were blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Jane Mansfield's probably in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Grace Kelly. Did you already say that?
Yeah.
Ah.
It's okay. You were definitely paying attention.
Yeah.
So she like so when
Marilyn Monroe.
so when she kind of comes to, we she realizes kind of what's going on, and she realizes that she's dying.
Yeah, and then she gets a phone call from the producer
saying, "Oh, you're not feeling well,"
Yeah.
and he's like, "You can either fight it and become what you've always wanted, or you can let yourself die." Is essentially
Yeah.
what's going on. And so we also see there's a hooded figure watching over her the whole
Oh,
time,
yeah.
and the hooded figure.
We see them at the part where she's performing fellatio
yeah.
too, right?
Ooh.
Yeah, see?
Performing fellatio, keeping it classy.
As classy as I can keep a blowjob. So,
I bet your mom's proud.
yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know what she's.
So,
I don't know what she thinks of me.
can you imagine her talking to her friends?
My son does a podcast where he talks about fellatio and they're just.
Or be like, he might have a dirty mouth on him, but by God, he can make a blowjob sound classy.
I hope those words never come out of my
hope not
mom's
either.
mouth. I hope my mom has never said the word blowjob.
Ooh.
Ugh.
My mom doesn't. My mom, it's the funniest thing. I'm sorry, Karen Perkins, that I'm telling this. But she doesn't. She'll be like, okay, these are some trademarks. They were rodeo doing. She was, or,
Yeah.
they were, you know.
I was about to finish that.
and
Yeah.
or, she was pleasing him. That's about as deep as we get.
That's pretty nasty, Karen.
Yeah.
You need to clean your mouth.
No, I'll tell her to wash her mouth out with soap. And then she'll probably quote A Christmas Story at me and be like, I'll get soap poisoning. Anyway, so,
You can poke your eye out with that fellatio.
I hope my
See how I
mom's never
combine
said that.
I combine the Christmas Story with the blowjob.
That would be awful.
Right? Yeah.
Impaled by, I mean, up until now, like, the worst thing I've seen somebody get impaled with was a carrot.
An eye for an eye.
So anyway.
Anyways. So she comes to this point where it seems like she realizes that she has to, whenever they say fight it, she interprets that as kill her past. And her past at this point
Is Aaron, Danny, everything else.
Aaron, Danny, and everything else.
And so she winds
Tracy.
up. Yep. And so, spoiler
Poe.
alert. Cool in the game.
Ashley. Is that a person?
Yeah, Ashley, but Ashley's our stock blonde that's only in like 3 scenes.
Yeah, but
so
she
we don't
gets
ever-
murdered. Yes.
We never when
She gets her head bashed in, Bailey, while she's
was
sleeping.
that Ashley? Oh,
yeah, with the dumbbell. Spoiler.
Spoiler. I
Which
always
is the
think
worst
that whole
scene.
scene always runs together for me because just everybody gets killed in
Yeah,
like
in a
3
row.
seconds. Yeah. And so
Well, it's longer than 3 seconds. I
Yeah.
think that this is where my biggest beef with the movie is that it has such an intriguing storyline, and then all of a sudden it starts to zoom too closely on the gory nature of these brutal murders, and it forgets to remember that plot is kind of essential to storytelling.
Yeah. Well, did you know that this plot actually, Bar in Los Angeles did not allow them to shoot there because they said that the script was too evil?
Yeah. No, I don't doubt that at all.
No, they said it was just too evil, and so they would not let them.
Wasn't evil enough to stop it from premiering at South by Southwest. It wasn't evil enough for the good people of the world, Earth, you know what I'm talking about, people, to fund it on Kickstarter, partially.
Did you read the Kickstarter story about...
I did not.
Okay, so it was successful on Kickstarter because the co-writer and director, Dennis Widmeyer, is actually Chuck Palahniuk's social media director, and he runs his website.
Wow.
And so as a reward, Chuck Palahniuk put the donors' names in a special thank you section of his novel, Beautiful You. So it was like the good people who love Fight Club, which makes sense when you compare it to this movie. That's how it got funded, because Chuck Palahniuk...
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's super cool.
That being said, I think Fight Club is far superior.
Oh, yeah, and it's also really cool because this movie was only shot in 18 days.
This Starry Eyes?
Starry Eyes was shot in 18 days.
That's pretty impressive.
And so...
It doesn't come across that way. That's pretty impressive.
So we cut to... Sarah's, like, walking down the street, and it kind of looks like a scene from 8 Mile, because she has on... I think her and Eminem have the same hoodie wardrobe designer.
Rabbit.
So they're like...
like she's like in her head, the moment you own it, you better never let it go, go, go.
Spaghetti,
'Cause you only got one shot.
And so
don't miss your chance to blow.
The producer? And
the opportunity comes. Just like his does. Oh, that's bad. Okay. That was a bad one.
So anyway, so we see Danny and Aaron are sleeping together because they're sleeping in Danny's van.
Which is his house, by the way.
Which is his house, because he's like, in LA, you're stuck in traffic all the time anyway, and you spend more time in your car than at home, so why not combine the two? My name's Danny.
God, you're so douchey.
And so...
Reminds me of a joke I used to tell, because I was really insecure about growing up in a trailer. I would always go, yeah, you might have a house, but I can put my house in reverse. So I always thought that was, I don't know.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
And he does not put it in reverse fast enough. Because Sarah...
If he could backtrack, then maybe this movie doesn't end the way it does.
Hindsight is 20/20.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he had a rear view mirror in his van.
So anyway, so Sarah kind of creeps...
Kind of gives new meaning to the adage, if that van's a rockin', don't go a-knockin'.
And so...
But Sarah goes a-knockin'.
Sarah goes a-knockin'. She actually gets inside the house, which is like Aaron's house. It's just like kind of like their group house.
Yeah.
And so Danny sends Aaron inside for some beer.
Yes.
And it is alluded to that Danny and Aaron have slept together.
Yes.
And so she goes inside, and Sarah kind of comes out of the background. She's like, Sarah, holy shit, are you okay?
Well, she doesn't ask that yet, because there's just that conversation, because she doesn't ask if she's okay until she turns on the light. She's in the darkness. I apologize.
Yeah. And so she's like... she kind of tells Sarah that she's pathetic, and she's like, and Tracy told us what you did, sleeping, sucking that old producer's cock. That's what I think she says.
Yeah. And I think this kind of scene, another good, cinematic technique was that Aaron was in the dark about who Sarah really was, and the scene takes place in a very metaphorical way.
It's dimly lit.
Dimly lit. It's dark in the kitchen. She doesn't see Sarah, even though if she looked hard enough, she could. And then whenever she realizes that something weird is going on, she sees Sarah in a new light.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, for sure. And so she, is talking to Sarah. And so Sarah comes out of the darkness, and we see Sarah legitimately looks like a corpse.
Yeah.
And so she's like, oh, my God, we need to get you to the hospital.
Yeah. The first time that we see Aaron have any semblance of a heart.
Exactly. And she's like, are you okay? We need to get you to the hospital. So Sarah is like, no, stop. And she, tries to touch her and grabs a butcher knife and slices Aaron's face open.
Yeah. At her, whatever, what is this called? Cheek.
Her cheek.
Her cheek. I forgot the word cheek for a second. I'm not drunk.
You're pretty
Slices
cheeky.
her cheek, and then it's one of the saddest. I don't know why I got so sad.
Well, because Aaron looks so taken aback.
Yeah.
And it's for a minute, she actually really did, love Sarah. She actually cared about her. And I mean, I think it's intentional, too, that it's on her face, because I think,
that ruins her career.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, there's a struggle, and she winds up, choking her out with a plastic bag.
That's not yet. Because she stabs her a couple times, thinks that she kills her. Then she goes to Poe's room, and Poe's sleeping, picks up a dumbbell, runs to Ashley's room while she's sleeping, and holds it above her head for a second.
And then beats Ashley.
Reminiscent of the movie Creep, kind of.
Yeah.
and then just beats her until her face is gone. Which, honestly, least favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have easily just encapsulated it, maybe just with one. Like, because I understand if you want to have gore in your movie, but this was absurd. I don't know.
Yeah.
To a certain point, you don't have to try to make your viewers throw up. They need their nourishment. If you want them to see more movies, they're going to need those vitamins that they had earlier.
Like vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so so she does that, and so then Aaron winds up getting choked out with a plastic bag.
Yeah, and then Poe sees that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she stabs Poe in the back.
Yep.
While he's on the ground.
And then she goes out to the van.
Yeah.
And kills Danny.
Yeah, Danny comes out and talks to her for a little bit first.
Yes, because she's sitting on. There's like it looks like the inside of a car, just like
the van
yeah.
seats that he pulled out
It's
to have
the
as a
van
couch.
seats. And so they sit on it and they're talking or whatever.
Well, he's standing there,
yes.
and then whenever he comes to sit down, she stabs him in the heart.
And so once all of that's done, we see Sarah walking with members of what seem to be Estrellas Pictures.
Yeah.
And so they wind up.
Ding, ding, ding. Satan Pizza Theory.
Okay.
Alert.
Go for it.
I don't think Estrellas Pictures exists.
Okay.
I think that she is with a group of friends that is so pretentious and wants to hide the fact that they are pretentious and being found out for the fake people that they are, that whenever they hear Estrellas Pictures, they're like, oh yeah, we know Estrellas Pictures.
It's like a Jimmy Kimmel, like, hipster bands.
Yeah. It's like oh,
Regis and the Philbins, which is my favorite.
Regis and the Philbins. I've never heard that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they're like, yeah, straight. They had a couple bad years. You could say that about any production company. You know, they say very general things about them. They never name one movie Estrellas Pictures did. Mm-hmm. Never one. So I don't think that this is an actual production company, and other that they produce different versions of people, new versions of the satanic cult. I don't think that they actually make movies. I think that this whole thing was one of their few techniques in order to prey on people who are very vulnerable actresses, and they go and find the most vulnerable one who is willing to do whatever it takes, that's a strobe light scene, to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. I don't think that there is an actual production company by the name of Estrellas Pictures. That's my Satan Pizza Theory.
There you go.
What do you think?
Now you know. I took it as, what I took is when people are marching, I took that those are supposed to be, I took it that Estrellas does exist. I took this as like a thinly veiled allusion to like some secretive Hollywood clubs that I'm not going to name because I don't want to
Illuminati.
Yeah.
I'll say it. Come shoot me. Shoot me, Illuminati. I really don't give a shit.
So
I don't believe in that. I'm sorry.
I think that it's like, I think that that's what it's meant to be, is like some elitist, like, anyway, so they wind up burying her. Mm-hmm. And so then we see her undergo this transformation. She looks a lot, you know, like, it's very, if you've seen Twin Peaks, imagine like Laura Palmer.
Yeah.
That's how she looks.
Yeah.
In the ground, and so like
intentional
she's, like,
nod to that, I think.
Writhing. And,
you should read that quote that you have planned.
I should. Okay, so this is the best way I know how to describe this movie, because I mean, Trick or Tweets, let's be honest.
We're trying to make you laugh.
We're just trying to make you chuckle.
We're trying to make you giggle while you're thinking about the scary movie.
So, Michael Rothman of Time Magazine said, if David Lynch and David Cronenberg came together to craft a gory psychological mind bender, it might be Starry Eyes.
And I like that he said it might be. Because personally, I think that both those filmmakers are superior to the people that made Starry Eyes. But I get what he's trying to say, and it's that certain parts of this movie are kind of reminiscent of Mulholland Drive. There's certain
Blue Velvet is what I got a lot of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's a very interesting way to put it. I think it's a little too flattering, honestly, for this movie. But, you know, these filmmakers, what are their names again? Do you remember the filmmakers?
It's, I have it right here, Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer.
Kolsch and Widmeyer, I think they have
that sounds like a good, solid gun company.
Yeah, Kolsch and Widmeyer, come by our new
gun.
It has bullets. They'll go real far. Kolsch and Widmeyer. I think they have real potential as filmmakers.
Well, also, this is really gross. Did you know that Alex Esso, who plays Sarah,
Yeah.
she actually spat out real bugs. She volunteered to
Really?
create a more authentic look compared to what the CGI would look like.
Oh, wow. They
Those
did
are
look pretty real.
Yeah, no, that's her really, like, she spat out bugs.
Kudos to her for doing what it
Right?
takes. She really learned a lot from her role as Sarah Walker.
Well, I mean, this movie was so intense that during the movie's New York premiere, someone in the audience actually fainted. So the staff had to, like, stop the movie, escort them out, and then they rewound the film 2 minutes and then had to start it over.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah, like...
There is, like, I can handle a gory movie. I've watched Human Centipede, and I was like, but
Wait until we cover Dead Alive at some point.
see, but
Get ready.
Dead Alive is a little, I don't know. I think that it just has, I don't know, maybe the fact that it's been around a long time and it has like a legend and a lore to it.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be more willing to put up with what Peter Jackson is bringing to the table.
That has the second scene in the movie that has ever made me nauseous.
What was it again?
This, in the movie Dead Alive, for those of you who've seen it, so the mother...
I haven't seen it, but yeah.
The whole story centers around Lionel and his overprotective mother, and he's in love with this girl named Chiquita, and she's, very
We've all been
overprotective.
there.
So she winds up getting bit by a Sumatran rat monkey, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
Or some derivative of that. And so it leaves like this pulsating thing.
She's pointing to her forearm.
It's like a pulsating bite in her forearm, and it winds up like shooting out pus into the custard that her guests are eating.
Oh.
And it's very like realistic looking pus.
Yeah. So maybe that sounds pretty disgusting. Kind of reminds me of that Alien movie that we talked about.
Oh yeah, have you seen it yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Deadly Spawn.
Deadly Spawn,
There you
the
go.
invisible alien movie.
They're
not invisible.
Yeah, for those of you who
Yeah.
are listening, that was not a bit.
Yeah.
That was Zach got confused on details and I didn't know what he
I don't know
was
why I
talking
used the
about.
word invisible. I think I meant to say invincible.
There we go. Yeah, that
Yeah.
would have made sense.
Because you can't beat these things.
I thought we were doing a bit. Zach didn't think we were doing a
Yeah.
bit. Wires were crossed, so we
Yes.
apologize for that whole ordeal.
Correction.
That was
alert.
not intentional. We were not on the same page.
No.
So anyway, so Sarah's buried, and then she starts writhing around in like this plastic bag, and like
This is where we see the boobs.
boobs.
We see the boobs. We get it over with. We see boobs, okay?
yeah. But I mean, these aren't like at this point they're not nice boobs. She's like all covered in dirt.
Yeah, and it's
Earth.
just you just get the whole sense like it's produced. I think the plastic bag was very symbolic. Here's a new product. This person is now a product, and it completely desensitizes any kind of like emotion you would feel about this. It's
Exactly.
it feels processed and fake, and I think that was the intention. I
So
think that
then
was
she
the
like
intention.
rises up out of the ground. With her nails are fierce though. I will give her that silver nail polish is rocking. And she like comes out of the ground and there's a box that says
Yes.
"Happy Birthday."
Yeah, because she was reborn today.
And
Didn't
so,
like that part.
Yeah, so she winds up walking back to her house.
Yeah.
And so Tracy comes home and she like knocks on the door and she's trying to apologize, and all we see is like Sarah's completely covered in a sheet. And then there's candles everywhere. And so then she kind of takes the sheet off of her, and Tracy's like, I'm sorry, like I shouldn't have told anybody that was your business. I was concerned about you. It wasn't like there was no malicious intent.
Then Sarah grabs her forearm
And says, let's lie down like old times.
And like she's in a trance because she looks at her eyes and they're starry.
They're like green and starry. Yeah, and so
Pulsating.
Yeah.
Even.
I mean, you could even say green was symbolic, like of greed and money, And
Oh, yeah. Well, I
like
actually didn't know they were green, but
Yeah.
colorblind. But yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
They were green.
Oh, okay.
And so she winds up talking to her, and this is where we see the boobs. And like we said, like Miley Cyrus would have had some cool pasties.
Yeah.
But
She's completely bald, by the way. Completely hairless everywhere. There's no hair on her.
I mean, she looks like a Barbie doll.
She looks just like a Barbie doll.
And so she's talking to Tracy, and she's like, goodbye, like this is the end of my life. And see, Tracy's the only person I feel bad for.
Yeah.
Because Tracy doesn't really do anything wrong. She's just concerned
she
about
goes
it the whole
behind her
time.
back at one point, but I think at least for Tracy's, it came from a place of concern.
Yeah.
She was trying to help. Like Tracy is stuck with the same shitty support system that Sarah is.
Exactly.
And that's what makes her a very sympathetic character.
Exactly. And so she winds up kissing Tracy goodbye and winds up like, sucking the life out of her, and like it's really gross and there's blood coming out of her mouth. And see, my thing is, Oh, that's so funny because we have the same person.
Really?
And so, sorry, I was looking ahead on Zach's notes.
I told you not to.
Sorry, you scrolled it up where it's right in front of my face. And so, she ends up kissing her, which I think is like a kind of It Follows nudity, where like it was like supposed to be like a gross over sexualization.
Okay.
Because I mean, like in Mulholland Drive, what's her name kiss? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Nicole Kidman
and Naomi Watts.
Naomi Watts. No, Nicole Kidman wasn't in that, was she?
Yeah, no.
I'm thinking Naomi Watts.
It's Naomi Watts.
And
because they redo it in Birdman. Anyway,
Yeah.
Birdman pays homage to it. Anyway, so I don't think like it was meant to be like, like, I think
that the kiss was intentional because, like, that was the one person she cared about too.
Yeah.
And for as shitty as the way it is to be murdered.
But I think it was like a gross, like,
Oh, yeah.
It follows like a, like juxtaposition.
Totally on
like
board.
Like a juxtaposition, gross
Yeah.
sexual thing. And so then Sarah winds up getting ready and she puts on like the same dress, the wig, the shoes
That
the
she saw in the
makeup,
dream.
and then also a necklace that's the star logo of Astrea's picture, which like their logo's a pentagram.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of ends with Sarah
Staring in her mirror.
Yeah.
And I think that's really chilling and it works. I think
Yeah.
that's another strong point in this movie.
Yeah, and it also, what's cool is during her transformation scene, we get flashes of famous celebrities, too,
Yeah.
like, that have been up in her room, so that's how it ends.
Yeah.
So, just a couple more cool facts before we move on to what would you change in recasting out demons.
Absolutely.
Carl's mustache was actually Pat Healy's idea. He wasn't
Really?
a mustache, yeah.
Yeah. That mustache, like, I commented on it several times that it was really creepy and I was like, man, fucking shave your mustache.
So then I also put real in this movie, in this universe, is real fake, or is Sarah being real, or her real self actually fake, and this is the real Sarah? Like it's kind of backwardsy logic.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So like this new version of Sarah maybe the Strayest Pictures is right.
Yeah.
It's actually like a kind of a perverted coming of age tale where she
Exactly.
actually realizes who she was and the
Yeah.
person she was before wasn't
Yeah.
Sarah at all.
Exactly.
I can definitely see that. That's what I
Yeah.
took it as, actually.
Oh yeah, and then
Yeah.
also Jackson King, friend of the show, our
Shout out, Jackson.
prodigal son, if you will.
Capture Theory. Shout out.
Whoop, whoop. We talked about the movie Nightcrawler
what was that?
with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Don't say anything about it.
Okay,
I
I'm
haven't
not-
seen it.
I'm not.
Okay, I
won't-
really
I'm not
wanna
gonna
see that.
spoil
Okay,
anything.
okay.
But just like how he kind of represents Hollywood. For those of you that have seen it, you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, I knew
He's
that.
like a personification of Hollywood. And so, I was thinking about that too. And this movie kind of has a similar tone to Nightcrawler.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Can't wait to see Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
I'm a
definitely
big Jake
something.
Gyllenhaal fan, by the way. I
It's
think he's a
something.
great actor.
So,
Second favorite actor. Paul Rudd, number one.
Probably never ages either.
No, he
Like,
doesn't.
It's so weird. So, what would you change, Zach?
Yeah, so I thought it would be a cool twist if Astrea's Pictures, if they were a real film company, if they were filming Sarah the entire time and making a snuff film to go out as a bang as a production company.
Ooh.
I thought that would be an interesting. I don't know if it would have had the same effect that the movie ended up having, but I thought that was what was happening at one point because my girlfriend mentioned, hey, I think, what if they're filming her? Because at one part, Sarah says, oh, I didn't know that I was being filmed, like talking about her auditions. So I thought it'd be cool if they carried that idea out and that she was being filmed the entire time.
And I mean, that'd be pretty rad.
Yeah, so I thought that would be pretty cool. And then she would, if they made that film, she would be definitely very famous for what she did. She wouldn't be, she'd be more infamous than famous.
Have you seen The Den?
No, I have not.
You should watch it.
Okay. And also, I've already mentioned this earlier, but one of the producers looks like a thumb
Okay, so I have kind of a cool...
with teeth.
This is... Stop. This is kind of...
Thumbs up.
It reminds me of that quote from Jennifer's Body when they're like, did you hear what Colin Gray's mom said he looked like? Lasagna with teeth.
Yeah.
So anyway, so this kind of goes... This will also segue into recasting our demons.
What would you change, Bailey?
I would have two different actresses playing Sarah.
Ooh.
I would have one to represent the old Sarah and one to represent the new Sarah. So we kind of have two go back and forth, but no one comments on it.
Okay.
Just like you know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
two different actresses
I like that
playing
idea.
the same character.
That would be really interesting, actually.
And so that would lead me to my recasting out demons, which I'll go first if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
So for Sarah, I think it'd be cool to have Alexis Bledel
Who's
as
that?
good Sarah. She was in Sin City. She is Rory Gilmore in the show Gilmore
Okay,
Girls.
that's honestly who I was
Yes.
thinking it was. Sweet.
And then for bad Sarah, Miranda Cosgrove,
I can see that.
I think would be kind of cool.
I don't want to see her naked ever.
No.
Because she's completely...
iCarly is my
yeah,
childhood.
Drake and
so
Josh.
maybe like change the nudity or whatever, but...
School of Rock.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then for Tracy, I put Jeanette McCurdy from iCarly.
Dude, you know what's weird?
Cool.
You know what's weird?
Huh.
Callie, my girlfriend, said, "Is that Jeanette McCurdy from iCarly?" at one point. She looks just like her.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that she would be great. And
Yeah.
so then Danny, I have Jesse Eisenberg.
No way, me too. Very
I
cool.
love it. And then I have...
That's weird.
right?
Yeah.
For Aaron, I have Kristen Ritter from Breaking Bad. Don't Trust the
Yeah,
Bee in
I
Apartment.
know her, yeah. That's John Ritter's daughter, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then for Poe...
Great actor, by the way, John
For
Ritter.
Poe, I have Darren Criss from Glee.
Is that the...
Blaine from Glee.
I don't know.
He's the one he's in Hedwig and the Long Itch now on Broadway. He's...
Does he
saw him.
play the gay character in Glee? Is that him?
He plays Blaine, who's dating Kurt Hummel, who's played by Chris Coffer.
Oh, I know him. Okay.
Okay.
So I don't know
he
the guy
was
you're
also in a
talking
Harry
about.
Potter musical. Darren Criss.
Yeah,
Okay.
I haven't seen... But okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
for him, and then for Ashley, I have Taylor Swift.
Yeah, okay, since she doesn't talk.
Uh-huh. And then for...
And who wouldn't want to see Taylor Swift act like she broke her
There you go.
nose?
Right.
Yeah.
For the director...
No offense, Taylor Swift.
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
casting director, I have Meryl Streep.
Wow.
For the producer, I have Ray Wise.
Wow.
And
That's a
then-
really... I didn't name that many
Oh, I
characters,
did.
but
Sorry, I got super into this.
No, I want to say I also now choose Ray Weiss as the producer.
And then I have Jason Bateman for the assistant, for the casting assistant, the one that goes
Yeah.
back and forth with her.
Absolutely.
And then I have for Ginkgo, who's played by Nick Simmons, who I love, who's Gene Simmons' son, who I've been in love with since I watched Gene Simmons' Family Jewels when it was still on TLC. I have Finn Whitrock, who played Dandy in American Horror Story.
Okay, I still haven't seen that, but okay.
And then lastly for Carl, here's my favorite, Danny DeVito.
Oh, dude, that would have been great.
Right?
I think Danny DeVito could totally pull that off, too. Better than...
I just got really excited about recasting this one.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and name some, and I'm going to try to, name a couple more characters if you just give me their names again, because I'm not really good with character names. But I had a couple actors in my head whenever you said... Okay, so for Sarah, I have Anna Kendrick.
I like that a lot.
I think Anna Kendrick, she's probably one of my, if not my favorite actress, but definitely one of them. I think that she has immense range. She's been great in a lot of Swanberg movies, so at least she's been around somebody that is with that group. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think Brie Olson is Tracy. I love Brie Olson.
Term 12, man.
Oh my God, what a movie! Short Term 12, one of the best movies in the past 10 years.
I agree with the people that didn't agree with Brie Olson not getting an Oscar nomination for that movie. She absolutely should have gotten an Oscar nomination.
She should. Great. And then Jesse Eisenberg for Danny. Then I have...
That's so weird. The way
That is
both
so
did
weird.
that.
And then I have Rainn Wilson for Carl.
I like that.
Poe, I would go with... what's it? John Belushi's son. What's his name? John Belushi's son. I don't know his name, but I would pick him for that because he doesn't have that big of a speaking role. But I don't know. Have a Belushi in a movie. Why not? And then for Ashley, I like Ashley Tisdale.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's
Why
for sure
not?
a good one.
Yeah, she needs to break away from her perception anyway.
Vanessa Hudgens might be good as Sarah Walker because if you've seen her in Gimme Shelter, she's
I haven't
really
seen
good
that,
in Gimme
but
Shelter.
Yeah. And for the casting director, the thumb lady, I would get what's her name? From Doctor Who. Rose from Doctor Who.
Not Karen Gillan.
No. She was a singer.
Oh crap! I don't know.
You know, Rose from Doctor Who. That's who I would get. Just so someone doesn't look like a thumb. And I think that the thumb lady was British, so get another British actress. And for the assistant guy, I would choose Michael Cera instead of Jason Bateman.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's my recasting out demons.
Okay. So, Zach, what would you rate this movie?
I rated it a 5.7. I think that it's very full of potential, but ultimately it falls short because it zooms in on the gory nature and neglects to tell a story, and it falls short of becoming the best bald version of itself.
Yeah, I gave it a 5.4. I agree. I think that it's definitely a good movie for if you're hanging out with some friends on on a Friday night and you just want, you know, like a cool little movie to watch for sure. Or if you're
if it wasn't on Netflix, I would say rent this movie. Don't buy it.
Yeah, rent, support, you know, Vulcan Video. You know, we live in Austin, for crying out loud. You know, go to Vulcan Video, iHeartVideo.
Absolutely.
Somewhere.
Thank you again for what was it? Night Wilder for recommending.
Thank you so much.
It was a journey. I'll give you that. Not my favorite movie, but
but I think it made for an interesting episode.
It really did. Yeah, we came up with some really interesting things to say about it, and I don't know. I don't think I would have watched this movie on my own volition.
Mm-hmm. I actually did.
You did? Yeah. I wouldn't have. But I appreciate the recommendation, and keep them coming. If you have another one, man.
Yeah, or if anyone you know. And I have a correction.
Okay.
I thought this is like a shocker to me. This wasn't like one of those things I wasn't sure about.
Yeah.
I could have sworn Christopher Lloyd was in the movie Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
I would have bet money on it.
Who was it?
And he's not.
Was it Christopher Walken?
I don't know. No. It's like a not.
Oh, another
super
choice
famous.
for the producer, Christopher Walken.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah.
And so
You have to perform fellatio on me to get the part. This is the gateway to the stardom you crave.
Well, I mean, he did stick a watch up his ass in Pulp Fiction, so you might as well stick a mouth on his dick and starry eyes.
Yeah.
But boy, was my face red. And that, like, legitimately, I apologize, Christopher Lloyd, if you don't want to be affiliated with that. If you do, you're welcome.
He'll go back in time and get in that movie.
I legitimately, like, thought that he was in it. I thought that he was the older gentleman, so I apologize. It's time for Bone Plugs and Harmony.
Bone Plugs and Harmony.
Zach, you go first.
I don't really have anything to plug. I just want to mention that I did stand-up comedy for the first time in a long time tonight, and it felt really good to be... It wasn't even a stage. I don't want to call it... It was like level. It was in a brewery. Mm-hmm. There were like really loud fans, not like people that were enjoying, but like actual really like box fans, and like people were outside smoking, people were talking during. But I don't know. There's something that feeling of being in front of an audience and winning them over. Yeah, that's something that I really like. Yeah. Sarah Walker would agree with me on that.
That's awesome.
But also I have my show I'm working on. Me doing stand up is a good thing, because this show is centered around me doing stand-up, and the more comfortable I get with it, I think the better the show is going to be. So this bodes well for the show, A Comedian, which is coming to YouTube hopefully pretty soon.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's your Twitter handle, Zach?
My Twitter handle today is you press the @ symbol, and then you call your mom, and then ask her to name every number she can. And then you do those numbers, and you make like a correlation in your head to what letter you want that number to represent, and then you let her talk for as long as she can about how many numbers she knows, and then make a letter representation of each number, and then that will be my Twitter handle. Okay. They're becoming more convoluted, by the way.
They are.
Yeah. I come up with these all off the top of my head, by the way.
If you play all of Zach's Twitter handles in succession with The Wizard of Oz, it will sync up perfectly.
It absolutely will. It checks out. It holds up.
That and The Wiz both.
Yeah.
Who are we here to discriminate against?
Nobody.
Wizard of Oz movies. Hi. I'm at Bailey McLeod on Twitter. Casting Out Demons has a Twitter. It's at COD_podcast. Please follow us.
Yes.
I've been updating, actually. So
yes. Oh, yeah. Sorry about not getting back to you sooner. I texted you off my laptop, and I didn't see that the message came up that said you have to log into your iCloud account. So it didn't send.
It's okay.
Yeah. I just didn't want you to think that I was, like, leaving you.
No, you're fine. Okay. No, you're fine. I can grab it. You can text me.
Because I actually texted you back, like, as soon as you texted me, by the way.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's all
just
good.
a heads up.
We're on Facebook, Casting Out Demons. Follow us on Facebook, like our stuff. We don't post just stuff about the movies, so like there's some cool just horror news on there.
Oh yeah, I made a little fake, phony little horror movie trailer that we'll be posting soon.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
It's funny.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we did something for Rest in Peace Wes Craven. Really like.
Oh yeah, can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, for a second.
Wes Craven, man, like. Ultimately, I would not be doing this podcast if it wasn't for Wes Craven. His influence on me, just like when I was younger, just the idea of having somebody that can attack you in your dreams, it's been something that scared the shit out of me my entire life. It's something that resonated with me from a very young age, and it's still something that if I talk about Freddy Krueger enough, I still get choked up because there's still a part of me that still believes that that's a possibility. And that is the ultimate epitome of what horror movies are supposed to do. And that man captured it and did it brilliantly. And I'm going to miss you, Wes Craven. It's not going to be the same without you.
Yeah. For me, it's kind of weird because I met Wes Craven at South by my sophomore year, and I only got to talk to him for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But he was very nice, very genuine. He's a really cool dude. I didn't get to, it was just like, hey, I'm a huge fan of your work.
Yeah.
Very nice guy. So it's like kind of weird because I'm like, I actually like met him. Like celebrities die all the time, and you're like, that's so sad. But like I saw him in person, and so like it's super weird. But just for me, he just inspired this podcast. Wes Craven, Scream is one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah. I love Scream. I even own the third Scream. Like, even a lot of people disown it, but I think it's great because I love Parker
My
Posey.
Soul to Take is a decent movie that Wes Craven made.
My Soul to Take, they, just everything,
Last House on the Left.
Yeah, it's
He did The Hills Have Eyes, too, right?
Yeah, the original
Hills Have Eyes.
And he just
changed.
He influenced the genre as a whole and had such a heavy influence on horror as we know it today. And so he kind of made it.
He invented the modern day horror movie.
Yeah, he made it okay.
For better or worse.
For me, he made it okay, for me to say, hey, I love horror movies. Wes Craven, for me, just kind of represents being the kid that for so long was scared to let people know how much I loved horror movies and thought about horror movies and obsessed over horror movies. And so for me, he's one of my idols in a way. And so it's just, when I found out, I was kind of in shock initially. And so
I had to be the person that told Bailey.
Yeah, and it was just heartbreaking because he just had such a heavy influence. And he just, like Zach said, he shaped modern day horror. And so just rest in peace,
Wes Craven was to horror movies, and I mean this genuinely. I know it's going to sound kind of like a joke, but Wes Craven was to the horror genre to what Tupac was to hip hop music.
No, and I agree with that. He just had such a heavy influence, and he was just. One of my friends posted a really touching story, and I hope it's okay with me that I'm sharing this. I hope he's okay with it. But he actually wrote to a bunch of directors and got a bunch of nondescript responses. He wrote to Wes Craven. Wes Craven sent him back an autographed photo and a personalized, handwritten letter that answered all of his questions that my friend had. And so, and it was addressed, handwritten, from Wes Craven was on the return address. And so he was just such a really amazing just filmmaker and just person as a whole. And so to the family and friends of Wes Craven, I follow Rose McGowan on Twitter, who Rose McGowan played Tatum in Scream. For those of you who don't know, she's been in a lot of other things. She's a wonderful, wonderful person, and she's a great activist and director. And she broke my heart because she was posting stuff all day long about how sad she was and just pictures of her and Wes, and it just broke my heart. So I can't even imagine how Neve Campbell, because she was his Molly Ringwald, John Hughes was to Molly Ringwald. And so just the friends and family of Wes Craven here at Casting Out Demons, just know you will be missed and that y'all are in our thoughts and in our prayers, because he was, even to us, we don't have any real.
Nightmare on Elm Street was the first movie I loved. That's how much Wes Craven shaped, and I want to be a filmmaker. He planted that seed in me when I was 5 years old. I loved how scared I was of that movie, and I loved how haunting it was. And I feel without Wes Craven, not only is there no podcast, but maybe there's no drive within me.
I still can't watch it at night. I think that's why I love Scream so much, because I'm just such a 90s person, a quintessential 90s person. And just for him to do that, and for him to bend every genre rule with the game possible, and he gave us the rules. Yeah,
within a movie that he made.
And there's even a scene where Caitlin and I were watching it. Our friend Caitlin and I were watching it. There's a part where Jamie Kennedy is sitting in the living room watching Halloween, and Jamie's like, Jamie, watch out. And I was like, who the fuck would think to put that in a movie? But Wes Craven and his team, to put that much of a meta aspect on it, that Jamie Kennedy is always talking to himself and he's talking to Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
And so
beautiful,
it just,
beautiful point.
Rest in peace, Wes. Yeah. Just know that
I will always be craving you.
Oh my God.
Not to diminish who you are as a person, but I do mean that sincerely. There will always be a hole in my heart waiting for your next movie.
There will be a hole in modern genre and the modern horror genre without you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for everything that you've done, and thank you for inspiring actors, and just thank you for inspiring me as a person to start this
Likewise.
podcast. Because I mean, A Nightmare on Elm Street, I still can't watch in the dark.
Yeah.
So to finish up with our stuff, I have a blog. Nobody puts Bailey in the corner.wordpress.com. I am working for Hello Giggles.
This is true.
So I'm on the 3rd page of their contributors, I think, if you like my stuff. If you want to read it, that's going, yeah. And I might be starting another podcast soon. I don't know. We'll see.
The OC
Trying to figure
podcast.
that out. Yeah. I might be starting a podcast about the OC. So
Very
we'll see
cool.
what happens. It's called the PC. So,
Nice.
yeah. So,
PC podcast.
yeah.
Nice.
The OC PC. I'm
No, that's
playing
good.
around, yeah.
That's better. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it will be everything you didn't learn around the bagel slicer, and our outro will always be don't compare apples to Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you, Demon Heads, for listening.
Thanks,
and
Demon Heads.
Rest in peace, Wes Craven. And remember, ghosts have feelings too.
The sequel.
Casting Out Demons is sponsored by Sutherland Connections Incorporated. Sutherland. They live within your heart. They're parasites. Original music provided by Jackson King. Casting Out Demons is created by Bailey McLeod Perkins. Starring Bailey McLeod Perkins, Zach T. Busby, and the Disembodied Hand. Cover art provided by Lauren Mims. Today's score is brought to you by Zach T. Busby. Casting Out Demons is always edited by Zach T. Busby. Stardom. Star. Dumb. Dumb. Stars. The stars are dumb. Don't believe these stars. The universe ends at Mars. Be famous. Be empty. Be you. Just be a star. A star. A star.